learned to an election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it down, we gon' get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Today, I'm going to go over my end of the year prediction for the stock market. So I've done a video like this last year. It was a lot more clear cut, I think. So we're going to talk about this. I have a few ideas of what I'm pretty much expecting for the next month and a half, and then even coming into the new year, because it's kind of give or take. There's like a little bit extra of a buffer, but we are going to talk about that. So I'm not a financial advisor. I would take this with a grain of salt. I am just theorizing. If I am wrong, I am going to be wrong. I am okay with that. I just want to put some ideas out here, and then I also have some important dates to look at. So going to try to keep this very simple. This is a lot of fun. There is some education involved with it too, and this has been an exciting year so far. 2020 has been very, very wild. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody who has made it, everybody even on the channel. It has been crazy. It has been wild. So whatever we get and whatever we come into for 2021 is going to be excited, and I'm ready, and that's why we're looking at all of this. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. But right off the bat, the first main key to understand and the thesis, and this is what we did in 2019, and this is what I said, that it was easier, but the idea here is that the first couple months, usually January to like March-ish, and now give or take, in some years you've seen it extend an extra month or two. Usually how the market performs in the beginning of the year is usually a reflection of what will happen by the end of the year. So that is the basis that I'm going off of. And then obviously you see here in 2020 what happened. Well, we started at highs, we ended up going even higher, and then we had this big drop. This was early March. It even extended all the way down to pretty much end of the March and April, and then we bounced. So you kind of see where we're at here, and we've talked about it. It looks a little bit similar, but to a degree I am expecting some level of drop. Now keep this theory in mind, because I already have a counter example to that. And honestly, I think this year is going to be a little bit more tricky, because 2016, we started at like a midpoint at the beginning of the year, hit new lows, bounced up a little bit, and then tested new lows again. And then 2016, you had Brexit in June, and then the market ended up closing, hitting new highs by the end of the year. So this would kind of invalidate this, but the key here is that this was Donald Trump's election. So maybe the election could change things, and we're experiencing that now. And then obviously everything we saw here was based off of the virus and the effects of COVID-19, what it did to the global economy, even the stimulus, and how central banks and everybody stepped in there. So you also have a different event that played out here. And now bring it to 2019 though, we started at a low, and then the first 3 or 4 months was just kind of this huge melt up. And when I made that prediction video around October, November last year, this is what we expected, and that's exactly what we saw. And then even coming into the next year, 2020, it kept going up, and then finally we got impacted by the virus. So now even bring this back to 2018, again, first couple months there from December to March, you saw a sharp move up and then a big move down. And then, I mean, it kind of looks like where we're at today a little bit, and keep this February of 2018 in mind. And 2018 was a interesting year. You also saw some Bitcoin similarities, but coming into the final months of 2018, you saw it hit a new high kind of a little sharply, but then had some of that drop and pop. And now you could kind of see it's not always really on par for exactly the first 3 months, but this is all the way up to March, and then this is October, and then coming into December and January. So there is several different instances of this showing up, and now bringing this into 2020, I pretty much think we're going to see something like this. But I think anything from the politics to the policy and president pretty much can really, really change a lot of things. And then once we get into 2021, that is going to really start a new trend. So for the most part, I am expecting kind of this to play out. But the question is it going to be kind of more extended, or is it going to be something a little bit more sharper? And really one good example is here. You kind of see how we played out here. We started at pretty much a high point, shot up, and then it does. This W right here is pretty much what I'm seeing kind of play out here, just on a longer time scale. This, again, happened really, really quick at the beginning of the year. So putting this in a perspective, if we do see a drop, I think it might take a little longer. So even though this is an end of the year prediction, I am kind of pushing it that if you don't see a sharp drop by the end of the year, and I'm going to talk specifically why at the end of the year, December 31st, then I really think coming into early February or even late February 2021, you might start to see some stuff. And again, that kind of even just correlates to the same exact timeline of what we saw last year. So bringing that to the keys now, here are your important dates to watch. And now this is why I'm saying, why I'm kind of expecting it to look like the beginning of the year, and maybe we might see volatility. But if you don't see volatility from these events or nothing develops, again, there's everything going on right now from the second wave of lockdowns. People are closing out. They put a curfew on, and now you still don't have the stimulus bill. And then we also just had yesterday on Friday, the 20th of November, Munchkin called the Fed to return some of the money. So if none of these events or things taking place really hit the market super hard, then you might kind of melt up, and then it could kind of change that pattern. This end of the year thesis doesn't really have, too much of statistical accuracy. This is just kind of a old adage that I've heard for a while, and that you've kind of just seen it play out. So anything could really happen here. But now watching for December 11th, this is going to be a key date because this is the voting for the budget. So if they don't get a budget passed here, people have talked again another government shutdown, and kind of now with with a government shutdown and then no stimulus, and kind of how things have played out this year with the virus and all that. I've talked about it. It's completely out of tinfoil to a degree. It's in left field there, but it could lead more uncertainty when you start getting government shutdowns, things not getting voted on. Again, even this election turmoil could lead to a downgrade, or it could show some uncertainty if you start to see policymakers not able to decide. So that's going to be the first day, and we want to see how the market reacts. But I believe statistically, under government shutdowns, the market has actually performed good, believe it or not. So we want to see that. And then December 31st, that is the next date that we're going to watch here. And this is the literal end of the year. And that's why this date is going to be key, because I think give or take, you might see the effect or the market price in before this, which would look like the beginning of this year if you saw a drop, or if it happened after, then that would take us into 2021. But December 31st is the date now that the Fed has to return the emergency funds back to the Treasury. Again, this news is very, very recent, but I think it's going to be interesting, because then at that point, if there's no stimulus deal or anything at that point, and then the virus gets worse, or the market or any economic factors really start to deteriorate, maybe there's a big default, those funds will not be ready to use without a congressional approval, which would allow one problem, if it was bad enough, to actually spread, versus the Fed, just if they spot the problem, they could just throw a bunch of money at it instantly. So that date is going to be important. And then even then, the follow-up from there is going to be very, very key for the first month or two. And then finally, the inauguration. We still don't know who the president is. Again, you guys like to argue on this fact. We're seeing what's certified or not, but the fact that I'm just calling this election turmoil, but that date is going to be key, because regardless of who wins, you really want to see what that does and what that leads into, both of these factors, everything from budgets and funding, or if there's any votes for stimulus or anything in that nature, because how the other party reacts is going to be key. Clearly, if Trump throws a fit, if the Democrats throw a fit, whatever it may be, that is going to be key to watch, and to see if that policy measure could start to affect the market a little bit, or if the problem gets bad with the economy, and then they are not able to respond quickly. So those are the keys for the dates. And now, just to give you a little idea here with my end of the year prediction and kind of how I'm viewing stuff. I haven't said this before. I'm telling it to you guys now here. So shout out to everybody watching this. I think this is an important part. And I think, this end of the year prediction, even when I made the last one, again, I thought it was easy. Last year was just very, very clear cut, and you saw how it moved. There wasn't as much drama again, and it continued for another 2-3 months until the virus knocked everything out of place. And that was a really big external event. But this is a very, very odd year. This is very historic. This is unprecedented. I know some of you are sick of hearing that word, but this is huge on many levels. It's just wild. So predicting this, knowing what's going to happen, I've said this at the beginning of the year when this all happened. We made a video early on talking about how coronavirus could crash the market. We made awesome plays, TLT and all that, but truly, I said this earlier on, nobody really knows what's going to happen. So even in this video, for me to even try to say anything, nobody really knows. Anything could really happen, and honestly, this is the true nature of volatility, and that is what you're seeing here. So you got to keep that in mind. And that has led me to a thesis with this, and this could affect, how things are going to work. But pretty much my idea here is you've seen what's happened. Why is the stock market melted up? It's not because of stimulus checks. Yes, there was technology stocks that did good, and Zoom was awesome, and all of these American powerhouses did good. But why is the market up so much? It's interesting to see. It could be kind of disproven with the dollar, but you saw the reason why the dollar was strengthening, and then the Fed and all these inflationary things. It could have even justified the stimulus we're putting out. But this idea here is that America is the safe haven. I know we've looked to Japan, we've looked at other countries and all that, but I think at this moment when all those other countries, even from April, March and all that, all these countries have all this turmoil, even what's going on with Brexit and everything of that nature. When things were getting bad, it is common adage all across the world, and I think you kind of see it. You take your money to America. Even then, a lot of other currencies strengthen, even the Chinese currency, makes it easier to buy assets. So you look at the S&P, the question is, why has the S&P been up so much and why has it been on a tear here? Because a lot of other places did bad, or even if they may have handled the virus a little bit better financially, the economic situation it created, a lot of people wanted to take their money and put it in America. It's safer when it's all said and done, when the world is there. And that is my thesis. That's why when I'm looking at the market being so high, where I'm seeing how things might get affected, and that's why really end of the year prediction, if there was going to be anything that looked like the beginning of this year, it would take global markets overseas really, really getting impacted before it affects our side of the ship. I think we'd be the last to go, because it's clear that how people are functioning, America is becoming the safe haven. So that's my thesis. That's my opinion, theory, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's appropriate here with this end of the year prediction, because that being said, that could change a lot of things, and that is something I'm going to be watching for. So wrapping this up, and to keep watch of this, it's going to be fun to watch. But now, once a new year start, to a degree, it's going to begin a new trend. So this prediction that I'm giving is kind of carrying into 2021, given the scope of everything. However, the minute there's a new year that starts, that is going to kind of start its own trend, because then when we look at 2021, we want to see the first 3 months of 2021. We're going to use that for the end of 2021. So we will have to see. Timing is going to be key, but I think it's going to be fun either way. I can't wait to see how this video ages. We'll see how everything follows up. Don't go too crazy. Don't go put crazy. Don't go call crazy. Just be wise, control the budget, respect the market, and you will be good and get a long-term chair. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Go clean your room. I love you all. Have a wonderful week. I will see you on the watch list tomorrow and in the morning on Monday, baby. Let's go.